Hello and welcome to Tech of the Day. Today I'm going to talk about implementing solutions that use virtual machines. I have already done a video on this topic, but I received many comments and feedback about this video, like the screen wasn't that clear. And yeah, so the screen wasn't that clear, that's true. But this video will be a little bit different. If you have already watched that one, it's still good, but this video will have more practical knowledge, so I will skip the theoretical part, or I will be a little bit brief and go quickly on the theoretical, from theoretical part to practical. So let's go. This is the first module of AZ-204. What we will talk about in this video is provision virtual machines, configure virtual machines. We will not talk about create Microsoft Azure Resource Manager template. We will have a separate video for that. I want this video only to be related to virtual machines. So we will have configure Azure disk encryption for virtual machines. So the first lesson, provision virtual machines. So we I think you already know what is virtual machine. So to create a virtual machine, you need a checklist. Either you are creating it using Azure Portal or Azure PowerShell, CLI, Azure CLI, or whatever. You need to have this checklist done. So what you have, you need to have network configuration. You need to have a virtual machine name, location, size, pricing model, storage, and operating system. We will talk about them in brief in the next few slides, but you need to make sure these things. And let me make it laser point. And once you have these things done, or you have these things ready, you can create a virtual machine. These things, and these things depend on your requirements. So operating system can be dependent on your requirements. It can be Linux or Windows, whatever. Same as storage, pricing model, which pricing model you want, pay as you go or based on utilization. So let's go. So how do you, so the first thing is naming a VM. How do you name a VM? So the VM name is used as the computer name, which is configured as a part of the operating system. So, and pay attention here, it won't be changed later on. So you have to be specific and you have to be sure about your VM name. Up to 15 characters for the virtual machine, Windows virtual machine, and up to 64 characters for the Linux virtual machine. That is also to be considered, that when you decide the virtual machine name for your virtual machine VM, then you need to think about these two things as well. Sometimes naming can be, let's say, if you're creating a virtual machine for dev environment or production environment or staging environment, you can put that PRD dev or staging STG, or you can also say virtual VM 01. So it depends on your how you want to have the notation of your virtual machine name. So as I said, like you can have a production, dev, or QA. You can use the environment in the virtual machine name to identify the environment, and you can use the location. You can use instance, which instance is 01, 02, or whatever. You can use if it's a product or service or application. So you can use this. And you can also use for what purpose you created this virtual machine, let's say SQL, web, or messaging. And VM pricing models, you have for pricing you have two options: pay as you go and reserved instances. But pricing also depends on your storage and compute power. So two primary costs for virtual machines: the storage, the cost of storing data, and every virtual machine hard disk. This cost is independent of whether the VM is running or not. So there is always a question about, if you if you stop your virtual machine, do you still pay for it? And you do pay because of this storage data. So because you have storage account for a virtual machine, and you're still paying for that because you still have the storage. You just stopped your virtual machine, so you don't pay for the compute, but you pay for the storage. And the compute based price for the compute capacity when the VM is currently allocated. So the actual machine, which is and its capacity. So as I said, there are two models: pay as you go and reserved. Pay as you go is the compute capacity is built and paid as it is used without a long term commitment. And then second one is a reserved instance. You can be committed for long period of time, and then you can get some discounts. But then you are also entering in a commitment with Azure, Microsoft Azure, that you will be using virtual machine or their services for long term. So depending on your requirements, you have many storage options for virtual machines. You have solid state drives, SSD, which has a high performance and low latency for VMs for intensive workloads. You have premium storage accounts. You have standard. So it depends on your requirement. You can choose. So you need to be sure about that. You can also choose unmanaged disk or managed disk. So that is also an option. Managed disks are managed by the Azure platform itself, and you don't have to worry about the storage account limits and thresholds. So it will be managing and scaling up according to the requirements. But if you have unmanaged disk, that means you have to take care of it yourself. You manually create and manage virtual hard disk in your storage account. You will need to consider account throughput and capacity limits when using this model, because if uh, if you have less yeah, depending on your requirements, but let's say you have too much users of your virtual machine, and then if it cannot handle, then you have to manage and scale it up yourself. So virtual machine creation and management, we have Azure portal, which is a browser based user interface, or you can say a web application. You have Azure resource manager, so you create ARM template and that you can deploy a specific configuration of multiple Azure resources used based on some settings there. You have Azure PowerShell, which you can use with Azure specific commands. You have Azure CLI, which is cross-platform command line tool for managing Azure resources, and you have using REST APIs, which you can do using C# or other languages. So I'll show you using all of them how to create a virtual machine, and we will go one by one. So to create a virtual machine using Azure portal, let's go and see how you can create a virtual machine using Azure portal. If you guys have already done that and you are not interested, then you can skip and go to the next step, which is creating a virtual machine using your ARM template, and then there will be Azure PowerShells, Azure CLI, and programmatically. I will be really quick, and I don't want to waste time, so because otherwise this video is gonna be really too big. Okay, let's go. So I'm here in my portal, and you see here, if I go to Azure Marketplace and I just click on compute, I have virtual machine, I have other compute options, and you see many compute options actually. And if you search here virtual machine, you will have a lot of things which you don't want, because you want, but depending on your knowledge level, if you don't understand them, then you will feel like, what the hell is this? There are a lot of options, but let's go. Create virtual machine. So it has already given me some pre-selected options. You see here, it selected my subscription. It needs to create a, if I need to create a resource group, I'm gonna create a resource group for this so that I can just delete it after the users. it's available. Okay, and then I need to name the virtual machine, and I will name it like VM AZ-204. It's available, and then I need to search it in region. And you see, for the naming, virtual machine has two distinct names. Virtual machine name used as the Azure Resource Identifier and a guest host name. When you create VM in the portal, the same name is used for both the virtual machine name and host name. The virtual machine name cannot be changed after the VM is created. You can change the host name when you log into the virtual machine. So you need to be really specific with the name. So same the reason, and then you cannot change, I think, the region as well. Choose the Azure region that's right for your customer. Not all VM sizes are. That's also true that not all type of VMs are available in every region. So these things you need to have in hand before creating any virtual machine. Okay, so I pre-selected ESTS. I don't care. Availability options, I don't want any no infrastructure redundancy or required, but you also have these two options, availability set and availability zone. We will talk about them later on, but these are two terms and really useful. Then you have images, which image you want actually. So you have Ubuntu image, Red Hat, Linux. You have Windows images. If you see a Windows Server 2019 data center, 2016, 2012 R2 data center. So depending on your requirement, you also have Windows 10 Pro. So depending on your requirement, you can choose any virtual machine you want. Okay, so let's go. And Azure Spot instance, what is this? This is new option, I think. Azure Spot offers unused Azure capacity at a discounted rate versus pay-as-you-go prices. Workloads should be tolerant to infrastructure loss, as Azure may recall capacity for pay-as-you-go workloads. That's a nice option, actually. And one more important thing for your price is size. So you need to select size, and you need to be aware of this. What is the requirement for you? So you see here, so these vCPUs and RAM. vCPU is virtual CPU, and RAM. These two things are really important, and also output input operations allowed. So if I just filter it based on the price, I have the cheapest virtual machine available for €3.20, and but I don't get much in this one. I think one vCPU and 0.5 GB RAM, which is not enough if you just get start with your operating system, let's say. So that's not enough. And same way you have vCPU. This one is also okay. And then you have this one vCPU and 2 giga. I would go with this one. How much is it? It is €25 per month. But yeah, you see it's B2S. You can also go with this one, which is one CPU and 2 giga of RAM, which is €12, almost exactly half actually. So okay, I select this one, and select. Ooh. Okay, I change the size. Now authentication type. How do you want to log in and log into your administrator account? So you can use SSH public key. You can also use passwords. So then you need to have username and passwords. And if you just go with this, you just have as your user, you just create a generate a key pair, SSH key pair, and then you use it for connection. We will do it with the username and password. Let's say testing VM admin 01, really good one. Password tech of the day, and 1, 2, 3. Let's do it. Tech of the day, 1, 2, 3. You cannot log into this one, so I'll delete it, so don't worry about the password. Yeah, and another important thing is select inbound ports. How do you want to connect with your virtual machine? And this will allow all IP addresses to access your virtual machine. This is only recommended for testing. And use the advanced control in networking tab to create rules to limit inbound traffic to known IP addresses, because you don't want everyone to access your virtual machine, and it is private thing. So, and then you can also say none. That is like all traffic from internet will be blocked by default. You will be able to change inbound port rules in VM networking page. So by default there is no rule, and then you can select rule. But how do you want to do it? You can have HTTP, HTTPS, or SSH login. So now you can select any port if you want it over HTTP, HTTPS, or SSH, and then depending on that you will be able to download it. So, and I can also later on change these rules, so it doesn't matter. Now I go to disk, and I can either create and attach a new disk, or I can attach an existing disk. I don't do it. I am not doing anything. And now it will automatically create a VNet for me based on my name of my virtual machine, and the default subnet 10.0.1.0 to 24, and public IP will be there then, and there will be NIC, network security group NIC, and these we selected already. Do you want accelerated networking, off, load balancing? No. So let's go management, and then you are asking for other type of things like security, monitoring, identity. I don't want any of these, and this is very interesting. Enable auto shutdown. If you click on, then you can, it will be automatically shut down. Then you won't pay for the compute power, but you will still pay for the storage, but you will save some money. So yeah, let's go. Then you can have tags. You can add some custom data. That there is a lot you can do. Next, tags. No tag. I don't want any tag. And review and create. Now it will be creating the virtual machine. You see it is saying 0.00175 euro per hour, and the validation passed. Now it will I can click on create. So my virtual machine should be ready in few seconds or minutes. Let's see. And well, that's all. So I can create a virtual machine using Azure portal. We already discussed this, and I have already demo you how to create a Azure virtual machine by using Azure portal. Now create an Azure virtual machine by using PowerShell. What you have to do is you can take pause this video and use these things, actually these commands. This is nothing but, in short, you are connecting to the Azure account, and then you need to create a resource group, because For every location, for every resource, you need a resource group. So you create a resource group. Okay, so you create a resource group, and then you create a virtual machine. So new Azure VM, you put the resource group you just created, a resource group name you just created, and name of the virtual machine, location, virtual network, which will be my VNet. If you don't put it, it will take from there, as we saw in Azure portal. Subnet name, security group name, and public IP address name, open ports 80 and 3389, and these ports are important. So that's all. I think if you want me to do it, I can do it, but I think it is good that you do it. You can just pause this video and notice these things. Then to access an Azure virtual machine by using PowerShell, what you can do, get AZ public IP addresses from this resource group, and then you select the IP address, and then with that IP address you just say mstsc/v public IP address, and for that you need to install Windows feature, which is include management tools. You need to install it. Okay, demo, create an Azure VM by using PowerShell. So I will just do it very quickly. So the one I just created is already deployment is complete, and it's available for my use, so I can use it. And you see here I can just create another virtual machine using this configuration from the portal, but we don't want to do it from the portal, we want to do it from the PowerShell. So what we will do, I will just open PowerShell, and I need to log in. Azure account, let me just, so if you want to do it with me, you can do it as well. Let's connect Azure account. It will open a pop-up for login, you see, and I need to type my password and username and password. So after login pop-up screen, I'm logged in into my account, and now I can create a resource group, new AZ resource group, and the name is my resource group, and I need to say location, and location is EAST US. So wait, I think I messed it up. I have a space here. Yeah, now it should create a resource group named my resource group, and now I can create a virtual machine. So new AZ VM, and then resource group name, resource group name equals to my resource group, and then name of my VM is AZ-204 VM02 because I still have the old one. Then location is same as resource group, which is EASTUS, and I can give the virtual network name, which is my VNet, and then you have subnet name, which is my subnet, and then you have security group name, which is my NSG, and then you have public IP address name, public IP address name, which is my public IP, my public IP, and then you have open ports, which are 80 and 3389. So 3389 is for RDP and 80 is for network, for HTTP. Resource group name at line. A parameter cannot be found that matches parameter name. Typos. You see, I hate these typos. RESOURC. Yep. Still public. What is public address name? Public IP address name. So now it is asking me to enter my credentials, and these credentials will be used to authenticate. So I'll pause the video for few. Just entered the username and password, and it is just creating it. So let's see how long it takes. But if we check the previous one, which is already done, because we created it using we go to this resource group, you see all these resources were just created for this virtual machine only, and you see you have this network interface disk, public IP address. So the same way I should have other resource groups. If I just go to, and this is my resource group I was just created, and you see these things are created while I'm running my PowerShell, and it's done. Okay, perfect, right? And it's created. So now if I want to access this this virtual machine, I can just access using this get a public IP address and then resource group, my resource group name, and then I can filter pipe, select IP address, and then I can do like this. So I hope it's clear, and I will continue doing this because we can. So we did Azure Virtual Machine by PowerShell and by Portal, and now we have just some theory. If you want, you can continue, or you can go to next practical thing. So capturing performance diagnostics for a virtual machine. So you have Azure portal, and Azure portal you go to your virtual machine and then you run performance inside to get insights in your virtual machine, and after that you get a report, and these reports are basically to get feedback about your virtual machine. How could you do something? Same way, you have a recovering a failed virtual machine using a rescue VM. Always you have a failed VM, but you have a snapshot of this VM. Snapshot is containing exact status of your virtual machine. That means all the applications you installed on it, and that's an image of your current virtual machine, so you can recover using that, and you don't have to do all those steps like creating you created a new virtual machine. That means it's a new machine, and then you have to install everything you did for your applications. So to configure virtual machines, in this lesson we have like sizing a virtual machine, so we can resize a virtual machine. Each VM of size offers a variation of the following characteristics: processing power, memory, storage capacity. We all know. Based on workload, you are able to choose from subset of available VM sizes. So we all know that. VM configuration options, we already saw that you have virtual CPUs, you have memory, disk storage, networking, and availability. All these things are considered when you select a size, a type of machine. You have VM categories, so you have virtual machines for type like entry level, which is just for testing purpose. You have bus stable, you have general purpose virtual machines, you have compute intensive virtual machines that are used for, let's say, image analysis or other type of analytics. You have memory optimized, you have GP accelerated, high performance computing, and storage optimized, and you also have purpose built, which are SAP and Cray. So these are the virtual machine categories you could use for your organization depending on your use. So general purpose virtual machines are designed to have balanced CPU to memory ratio, ideal for testing and development, small to medium databases, and low to medium traffic web servers. And generally, these are used for small purpose things. Actually, compute optimized, which are like for high performance compute operations. Memory optimized, then you have storage optimized. You have GPU high performance compute options. So manage the availability of your Azure VMs. So you need to make sure that your VM is highly available, and the availability is the percentage of time a service is available for use. In the event of physical failure within the Azure data center, Azure will move the VM to healthy host server automatically, and there will be self-healing. Your VM is isolated in a single instance. The applications hosted on that VM will not be available. And also VM could be also affected by the periodic updates initiated by Azure itself. So how do you make sure to make your application highly available? So you have availability sets, which is VM scale sets, availability zones, and region pairs. So to have that, which increase higher latency and also increase resiliency, and that these both things, high availability and high disaster recovery, both combined together will increase your resiliency. So what is increased resiliency and higher latency? Increased resiliency is simply something that your system is highly defendable, can defend unexpected problems. And higher latency is something that your system is taking less time to arrive to your clients or to you, I mean. So the system you can access very quickly. In VM's skill sets, you have different virtual machine sets that you can use. Once one of the VM is not available, then you can use another one in the event of failure. But if what happens if your whole zone, that is, or data center is in failure? So that means if your data center is failed, has then your all the VMs in there will be failed, so you won't be able to access them. Then in that case you need to have availability zones, that is like if one zone goes down, then another zone takes care of it and it's up and running. And same way, if whole all the zones goes down, then you might have a reason, because if whole region goes down, that means you all the zones will be going down. Then you have another reason. So it is like increasing protection from disaster with the data residency compliance. So your data is resilient, and you have more higher chances of not losing your data, and of course your system. Availability sets, then we just talked about them. What is availability set? Logical feature used to ensure that a group of related VMs are deployed so that they are not all subject to a single physical point of failure. So if one virtual machine goes down, then other virtual machines can take care of it, and they are not upgraded at the same time, so Azure updates won't will not affect them. Same way, you have update domain. So you, as you create availability sets, you can create update domains as well. And in these update domains, that means one domain will be updated, and that means logical group of all the hardwares that can undergo a maintenance update at the same time. So other another update domain will not be updated. So you have, let's say, three update domains. So only one of them will be updated at a time. And same way, you have fault domains, a logical group of hardware in Azure that shares a common power source and network switch. So let's say you have this fault domain. That means if you have a problem at data center, so all the related sources goes down. But if you are using fault domain, that means those two virtual machines are not in the same data center, at the not at the same place. So if this goes down, this is still available. And then next we saw was, when while we were creating virtual machines, we saw images, image in Azure Marketplace. So there are four things you need to think about images once while selecting one of them: is publisher, offer, SKU, and version. Publisher is the organization that creates the image. Offer is a group of related images, and SKU is instance of an offer, typically a release, and version is specific release version number. So how does this matter? So you have, let's say Microsoft is the publisher, then you have a type, which is offer, which is Windows Server, semi-annual, and then you have another offer, Windows Server. Then you have SKU, which is type of this Windows Server, which is 2012 data center, 2012 R2 data center, like this. And then further you have version of these offers, so which is called image. If we combine all of them all together, same for Ubuntu. So if we combine all of them all together, it will be in URN format. It will be like publisher, offer, SKU, and version. So publisher Microsoft or Canonical, offer Windows Server, Ubuntu Server, SKU 2019 data center, 19.daily, 10 daily, like this. So how can you find an image source by using Azure CLI? It's really easy. It's really simple. This is Azure CLI, so I won't be doing it. I will do the next one, Azure PowerShell, but still you can pause this video and do yourself. So what is it? Get all the list of publishers. Just to get all the list of publishers, you say Azure VM image list publishers, and at the location. You need to specify the location. Same way, if you want to get all the offers, you just need to specify the location plus publisher, because then you go one level down. Same way, AZ-VM list offers. And then if you want to get SKUs for a specific for a specific offer, Then you say Azure VM list SKUs. Then you specify location, publisher, and offer. If you want to get the image for a SKU, that is list all location, publisher, offer, SKU. So simple, right? It's just you go one level down every time. You can show the image, particular image, and you can also use the URN to get the specified version of the image, like publisher, offer, SKU, and then version. Same thing you can do with PowerShell. Let's do it. Okay, so let me just do the first thing, which is getting all the list of publishers available in the East US region. So what I wrote is get AZ-VM image publisher dash location East US. So simple, right? It is collecting all the images, all the publishers available in this region. So it's taking a little bit time. I already ran that query here, which you see, like you see a lot of available publishers which we don't even know and we don't use them. That's why it's a bit complicated when you just have to select from these available options. But you see, even Microsoft has its own a lot of available publish. You see, uh, just blah 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 blah. This a lot of publishers are there, so you can select one of them. Next you can say AZV. So next, you if you want to get not the publisher, but so if you don't want to get publisher but you want to get offer, image offer. So you have to specify location and then you have to specify publisher, and I can name it canonical or Microsoft. Let's say here it is canonical. I'll go for canonical. Typo. So this is giving me all the offers available for canonical publisher. You see canonical, and then you have like Ubuntu minimal focal daily, minimal groovy daily, pro advanced SLA, pro bionic focal, blah blah blah. You have a lot of options available. So same way we can get all these things. You can pause this video and do some testing. What is changing, just to notice, is like this command is just the verb. So just I like it because you know there is a logic. To get something you get put get, then to update something you put set. So like this, you know, and for creating something you put new. And then only one thing is changing: publisher, offer, SKU, and image, and then you need to add the filters. That's all. So we're not going to do ARM template. We will do another video for this because this is really a big topic and I don't want to make this video too big. So we gonna skip it. And then there is Azure Disk Encryption for VMs. So what is encryption? Encryption is something converting converting a meaningful information into something that you cannot understand, so seems meaningless as a security measure using a hash. So typically a key is used to perform the encryption and subsequent decryptions. So there are two types of forms, like symmetric and another one is asymmetric. Symmetric, you have a single key which is used to encrypt and decrypt the data for best performance, and asymmetric is a pair of key is used to encrypt the data. Only one key is made public while both parties share a private key. So because with the symmetric encryption, if someone has your key, they can encrypt and decrypt themselves. But if you are using asymmetric, then only one key is not enough. So key management, for key management you need to have your secure place where you can put your keys, and for that Azure is providing you that functionality. Also you can manage it manually, but Azure is also providing that using Key Vault. You have then also you have managed disk protection technologies for Azure VMs, which are storage service encryption and Azure disk encryption. So which the storage service protection, which ensures the protection of your storage data at rest, and Azure disk encryption, which uses BitLocker to control the encryption of disks for Windows and Linux. So we are not going to create Azure Key Vault, but this is the command, very simple. You say new AZ Key Vault location, and then resource group name, and then you say vault name, and then enabled for disk encryption. Simple, right? So, and then after creating this, you can use it for the virtual machine. I'm going to do another video for this. That's why I don't want to discuss it. So encrypt existing VM disks by using Azure Portal. You can do it while creating your virtual machine in the portal, or you can modify of your virtual machine principal access policies. So you see here these policies, and then just tick this box, enable access to Azure disk encryption for volume encryptions. But if you want to do it with Key Vault and all that, I'll show you later on. Configure Azure Key Vault to encrypt VM disks. Already, yeah. And you must enable access to keys or secrets to make them available to the VM. And there are two things you need to do to enable it. And granting access is done through the policies, and there are three policies that you can enable: disk encryption, deployment, template deployment. Disk encryption required for the Azure disk encryption, deployment access secrets during deployment, and template deployment is access secrets in Azure resource manager templates. So you see, that's why in this video topics I had Azure Key Vault and Azure Resource Manager template, but this video will be too big, that's why I excluded them. But I will be doing another two videos separately, and if you want to watch them, you can do that by going to my channel, or you should find them actually easily. You just go to my channel and search for it. I think it should be easy. Then yeah, how to encrypt existing VM disk by using Azure CLI. So what you have to do is you have to update your existing Key Vault. If you don't have any Key Vault, you can create a Key Vault like this, and once you create the Key Vault, you need to update it for enabled for disk encryption, and then you need to enable your VM for the encryption. So you say AZ VM encryption enable, resource group, VM name, disk encryption Key Vault, and then Key Vault name and volume type all, OS data. You can specify these things, and then you say skip VM backup or not. So you see, you have two things. You need to update your Key Vault to enable for disk encryption, and you need to enable your VM for the encryption. Same way you can do it with the PowerShell. I'm not going to do it up. So yeah, what we did in this video, we provisioned VMs using Azure Portal and Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI. We didn't do a REST API. We configured VMs. We didn't talk about create Azure Resource Manager templates because I will do another video on that. Configure Azure Disk Encryption for VMs. We talked about them. If you have any comment, please let me know in the comment section. Please give your feedback. Based on your feedback, I improve myself. So please send me your feedback. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.